140 seconds to tell you what they think the future of education is. So, Martin, take it away.
Right. First of all, you can hear me, so we'll get that right. Okay. All right, here we go. I want to talk about the flipping present and the kind of naked and wild future. If you consider information and communication as the raw material of education, consider how it's been transformed and flipped by technology, such that what was rare becomes abundant, what was difficult becomes easy, what was institutional becomes personal. And think about what you carry in your pocket. You've got more power in your pocket than got us to the moon. But think about education's typical response to technology, often to reinforce existing practice, where the E in e-learning stands for perhaps expensive, and where the, as Miles said, as where the smartboard is getting so good you can see the chalk dust these days. I think of education as a bit like a walled garden, practicing a kind of agricultural model where we bring the learner into the learning, we provide everything for them, we provide the technology, thousands and thousands of lockdown standardized desktops, we provide their identity. I'm talking about maybe switching from this agricultural, maybe industrial farming model of education to perhaps a hunter-gathering model where we don't provide everything for the learner, but we facilitate their learning. We try to bring the learning to the learner, we try and bring the technology to the learner, but rather than just flip like Khan might do, or try and provide just situated contextual learning, we step back, strip down, that's the naked bit, strip down, perhaps do less of the provision, and facilitate learners to find their own learning, facilitate learners to find their own technology, their own resources, and most importantly of all, find their own identity. So in a sense, it's bring your own device and out in the environment, because the environment's richer these days than it used to be. We don't have to provide the environment for learning anymore. So I think that's about it. There's more resources on the hashtag Flipping Naked, where I tweeted out some reading material for you. So it's been pretty naked, this. There's been no technology, but the technology's invisible. It's out there on the web. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Martin. Well done. Next up we have Doug and Andy from Purpose Ed. Glad to have you guys. They're actually going to do a double act for us.
Thank you.
So looking forward to that one. So take it. Starting now.
Hi everyone. My name is Andrew Stewart and this is my colleague Doug Belshaw. We're speaking here today as individuals based upon our experience of working with Purpose and also a whole range of JISC projects. We believe the future of technology in education is bleak for two reasons. Number one, we don't yet understand what the purpose of education is, and number two, because we're always playing catch up. Over the past sort of 9 months, Doug and I have set up a space to debate what the purpose of education is. And we've had some fantastic responses, but we need more people to get involved. So we implore people to get involved with the debate at purpose.org.uk. And that's me done.
So point number two is we're always playing catch up. Now that image, which I wish I could make big on the screen, is from a JISC Observatory session at Ulcc last month, which some of you might have been at. Now the red dots and the blue dots are put on by delegates, and the red dots on the Gartner Hype Cycle, appropriately, the red dots indicate mainstream adoption of mobile technologies, and the blue ones are educational adoptions of mobile technologies. And that looks like quite a depressing picture, and in fact all of the pictures, if you go on the JISC Observatory website, look pretty much like that. And that's because I think we don't really understand what innovation is. We think innovation is kind of shiny new things. We're like a bit like dogs chasing after shiny cars in that regard. But actually, innovation has got three components. The first is invention, the second one is early innovation, and the third one is systemic innovation. And what we've done is we've outsourced invention to the market, and then early innovation is trying to contextualize that within education institutions, but then something new comes out, and we never get around to the systemic innovation. So what we're saying is the future of technology and education is bleak because, one, we don't understand what the purpose of education is, and secondly, because we're always playing catch-up. Thank you.
Thanks very much, guys. feeling rather depressed now. Next up is John Millner from BBC, and your 140 seconds start now.
I'm going to try and cheer you up. Whatever else it is, the future of technology is mobile, and this has some interesting consequences. The chart on my slide is a straw in the mobile wind. Over the last year or so, I and my colleagues at BBC Learning have noticed a really fast growth of the number of UK secondary school students accessing, using mobile platforms to access the bite-sized e-learning service. Most of them, of course, are using things like this. In fact, exactly like this. You probably can't see the number there, but it's just in the big blue one, which is iPhones. It's 1.2 million page views there for the month of May. There are lots of other straws in the wind, and not just in the smartphone-obsessed West. In sub-Saharan Africa, mobile penetration has reached 40%, and for many there, mobiles are the only way to access the net. They're being used in ingenious ways as educational tools, for example, to build simple VLEs for university students using aggregated SMS. In Bangladesh, mobiles are being used to teach millions of people basic English via short-form audio and text files, and to deliver classroom resources to thousands of isolated rural teachers. But the rise of M-learning doesn't just give access to many more potential learners, it changes some other things too. It time shifts and place shifts the learning experience, taking it outside the classroom and embedding it in daily life. It also helps to make the learning lightweight, portable, bite-sized, or rather pocket-sized, and that's what I mean by micro. Because micro-learning puts the learning platform in the learner's pocket, it also gives them much more control over when, where, and how to learn, in their time and in their context, making the relationship between learners and educators a much more equal one. And because it's lightweight and portable, micro-learning can be triggered whenever there's a learning need, lifelong. And then there's the fact that mobiles are an inherently networked social technology. People use them to connect to other people, to make dates and maintain friendships, to chat, to text, to tweet, to update their status. So mobile learning is inherently social too. Instinctively, mobile learners share their new knowledge and use their mobile networks to check and make links between their new understandings. Mobile learners are not just receivers of knowledge, but actors and authors of their learning too. And the educators, is that me?
Your time is up.
Oh, well.
Thanks very much, John. Next up we have Michelle Hoyle, and she's going to tell us a bit more about gaming.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hoyle, an Open University course chair. My University of Sussex doctoral research examines communities and learning in World of Warcraft. I have 140 seconds to explore gaming and learning for education. First, some myth busting. Popular media portrays gamers as young males who spend too much time alone in dark basements playing games. The reality? 70 to 80% of WoW's millions of Western world players are actually adults, with women comprising about 20 to 40%. Some 80% are playing with someone else they know, and they spend 21 hours a week playing versus the average TV watching Brit's 28. Why is this relevant to higher education? It's similar to online HE's population. HE is an institution that's in crisis, and I don't mean financially. Our teaching and assessment are likely catering to the Roberts, an HE student archetype, typically employing remembering and understanding, low-level Bloom's taxonomy activities. Universities used to be full of Susans, operating at the much higher levels of synthesis, evaluation, and analysis, critical thinking activities that I see happening voluntarily in WoW. But is there learning there? Last year, I invited WoW players to write me an essay, yes, an essay, about why they play. I examined 39 essays for learning behaviors. In addition to modeling and analysis and experimentation, several reported playing specifically to learn or practice a foreign language. Others wanted to improve their social skills or learn more about themselves or other people. There were also real-world skills. Guild leaders needed diplomacy. Other leaders regularly coordinated large teams. Teamwork and collaboration were often motivating factors. And that ignores other activities I know happen, such as story writing or movie making. Much in WoW is boring and repetitive, not unlike education. Persistence and isolation are problems in online HE. Understanding what brings disparate people to form learning communities in these games could be very powerful for developing successful online environments and learning activities. Some factors we know, like allowing failure, because we often learn more from our mistakes, but there are others. Read more about the learning and background issues on my project blog. The future of education may well derive from games, even if it doesn't involve playing games, because there's useful learning happening out there. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Michelle. That was perfect timing. We were just about to be sounded out. Next up is Paul Johnson from EMC, and he's going to tell us what he thinks the future of technology in education is. So, Paul, take it away.
Thanks. My name is Paul Johnson. I'm from a product specialist team within EMC in the HE sector. The future of technology in education is object stores for storing research data. And the reason for that is one of the 140 challenges mentioned that this device is the way of future access to data. Now, object stores are the perfect underlying mechanism for accessing data from mobile devices. The applications that I developed on web services suit object stores. The apps built using web services such as REST should be familiar to those. So I'm looking at repositories for research data. They can hold masses of metadata which is important for searching information. Things like Google Scholar utilise metadata-rich environments to gain access to data. This data can be held either as a private cloud in your own object storage, in a public cloud such as Amazon S3, or a hybrid cloud with one of our service providers such as MTI. So the data can be held securely locally or as a multi-tenant, so sharing a small section of someone else's private cloud object store. So this object store can also be geographically dispersed globally and provide collaboration with research data in institutions, not only here in the UK, but potentially globally with global partners in the US or Asia. So, I bet you're wondering what is an object store. So, you might want to find out more by actually coming to the EMC and MTI stand and learning about what we're actually providing for customers along with ULCC. I think that's about it.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Last but not least, we have Don Perry from Janet, who brings the 140 Challenge to a fabulous close, I hope.
No pressure there.
Okay,
hi, I'm Dan Perry, and my work's been made a lot easier because Dr. Jan Martin has already said much of what I want to say. The future of education is with the users. We moved from a time when institutions had all the power, all the control, all the systems, all the infrastructure and everything, to a point where the users have them. Why do you bring your own mobile? Because you're used to using it. You bring your own tablet. Look at the people around here. You no longer, from an institution's point of view, need to control the device. It's about what's actually happening on the device. But even then, what does the institution do? If you want to check for research, are you going to go direct to the institution? Probably not. YouTube, possibly. Scholar Google Scholar, possibly. Social network, probably. Textbook, occasionally. It's more about this kind of, it's all out there. It's your choice as a user, how you bring these things together. That's a technical background to it and a social background. But the financial background also does it. Students are paying fees, they're customers. They have expectations, they're controlling. It's no longer just the institution says this is the way it is. You've seen the marches, you've seen the demonstrations. Students have a voice and students are using them. So again, the power's with the users. And the final part is the technology part, which is that you can now do these things. It's not just the internet. VDIs, virtual desktop interfaces, means you no longer need that device. You can abstract it a layer above. Hosted telephone systems mean it no longer needs to be actually on the campus at all, and a number can follow you. Look at what ULCC are doing with Moodle. It's moving away from the campus. It's moving to professional providers. This is all part of the picture, where ultimately the judgment, the ways of learning, and the opportunities lie with the users. Final bit, seeing as everyone else is plugging things,
This all depends upon the infrastructure. I work for Janet UK. We provide the network for all this. But effectively, that's invisible. And that's how it should be for 18 million end users. It should just be there and it should just work. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dan. Thanks very much. Thanks to all the participants. I thought that went rather well, or maybe it's just me. Next up is leading in quite nicely from Dan's reasoning that future of education is with the users.